Well, and we've got, no matter who wins this race, we've got the emergency manager in place and is going to remain in place. And so the new mayor, as Dave Bing has been forced to do, the new mayor is going to have to work with the emergency manager until the emergency manager leaves town.
And my guess is whoever that person is, they won't have much of a honeymoon, but we're going to get some opinions here. Joining us now to my far left is Bankole Thompson, very familiar face, senior editor of the Michigan Chronicle. He was also one of our debate partners in the final Detroit mayoral debate. Asked some penetrating questions, and you can pick up the Chronicle any week, and you're going to see Bankole there with some kind of provocative commentary and point of view. And seated next to him is Jenice Mitchell-Ford. She is with Clark Hill Law Firm. She is also past chair of the Detroit Charter Revision Commission, and that played a very, very important role in what is happening tonight. First time in nearly 100 years we see council by district.
Yes.
Welcome to both of you joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Quite an evening.
It is an evening.
So far.
So far. We're waiting to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, exactly. And while we've talked a lot so far about the mayor's race, we've yet to really delve into city council and the district now, and two at-larges with the districts, and I know that that's something that you've been intimately involved with, and now that we're here on this day, your thoughts?
Well, it's exciting, it's historic, but I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that they need to get to work day one, right? But what does that look like? We haven't seen council by districts in the city in 100 years, and so you're going to have 7 in districts, 2 at large. And they have district concerns, but they can vote on citywide contracts and citywide issues and have to deal with the emergency manager just like everybody else.
Right.
So even though they have a focus on the neighborhoods, they also need to have a an understanding of how the city works itself. Coming together, working together in this time period where we have until September to the 18-month period, to try to be of assistance and make themselves useful to the process.
When all is said and done, this great big report here, this Charter of Detroit, will people be pleased with the work that you and the other commissioners did? Or will they look back and say, what a mess?
No, it takes both. It takes words on paper, and it takes people who are well-intentioned and well-skilled to make it work. There's enough room and structure in this document to make council by districts work, but it's also going to take people coming to the table to, with their ideas, with their cooperative spirit, with their creativity to make things happen. There's enough room here, but there's also enough structure.
Bankole, what is your sense of the district races and interest in that versus the choice of Duggan versus Napoleon?
Well, I think the district is significant. It levels the quality of life. Now, for the first time, we'll have council members who live in the same districts that have woeful conditions as everybody else. So if you really don't want to live in a district where there are woeful conditions, no public lighting, as a council member, you'll fight to ensure that there's public lighting in your street. So it levels the quality of life, and I think it's a great accountability for local government. I think one of the biggest complaints that have come out of Detroit from the office of the ombudsman or the ombudswoman has been just the number of repeated complaints that we have seen that have gone unanswered at City Hall, that sometimes have been subjected to political loyalty and so forth, to a level that people don't feel like they're getting answers. So now you have council by district. If you live in a district, you're obliged, you're politically obliged and morally responsible to ensure that whatever happens, nothing goes wrong in that district, because you live in that district. The level of quality of life, the quality of life is leveled.
I'm going to ask a question very quickly, and then I'm going to get up for a second here, and we're going to put someone else in the seat. Does this water down the power of the mayor's office? Because Detroit has always had a strong mayoral form of government, and now you're going to sort of disperse that out, and you're giving these representatives from these neighborhoods a lot more power. And are we going to have a bunch of mayors?
Team of rivals or many captains in one ship? I defer to the chair, the former chair of the Charter Commission.
I would say no. Detroit is still a strong mayor form of government. City council by district, they did get a little bit more power in the sense that they can appoint or join in the appointment of certain officials in the city, but they do not have the mayoral power. That is still with the mayor. But let me say this, under emergency management, city council has more power than the mayor. because they're the ones who can call the question in 18 months to say, shall we put the emergency manager out? And then if the mayor agrees, they can move forward. But only city council can call that question. Under emergency management, only city council can go to the emergency manager and say, we disapprove of your expenditure. Here's another proposal. The mayor can't do that. City council can. But to answer your question, no, we have 1 mayor and 9 city council people.
And Bankole, in this race as well, your sense of the mayor, the Duggan, Napoleon, what kind of feedback have you been getting in recent days?
Well, I mean, we've seen, because it went down to the wire, there's been almost, this aggressive campaign. The final debate clearly showed the animosity between the two candidates. But, honestly, I think, people, because we're under emergency manager, some have dismissed even the relevance of a mayorship after tonight, which I think is still significant. I think there's going to be life after an emergency manager.
No,
Kevin O is not going to be here forever. So I think we need to put it in context that Detroit is going to be here. We'll be here talking about these same issues with the next mayor who's getting elected tonight.
All right, so whether it's Napoleon or Duggan, they're going to have to work with the emergency manager. And what advice, I guess, would you give to the next mayor to do that?
Well, it's about politics, right? And politics means interplay between people. Mayor Bing has said that there has been none between him and Orr. So it's going to be very important to have what they call the meeting before the meeting, right?
Well, that's true. I mean, they have to have the kitchen meeting before the cabinet meeting, because, my sense is Kevin O has a plan for each of these two candidates tonight. If Napoleon wins, there's a plan for Napoleon in terms of how to deal with him. If Mike wins, there's a plan for Mike Duggan in terms of how to deal with him. So it's all going to be interesting in the next couple of weeks to see how it unravels, especially in light of the appointment of a deputy emergency manager, which was not expected. So that raises a question of whether this was a preemptive strike to perhaps take away the responsibilities of the incoming mayor. So we'll see how this plays out in the next couple of weeks, how the emergency manager responds tomorrow to the newly elected mayor, especially in light of all the stuff that's happening in bankruptcy court,
Sure.
the unpleasant testimonies that are coming out of bankruptcy court, which I think, is going to take away some kind of a public trust or confidence in the emergency manager himself.
Yeah, they've got to figure some things out here going forward, without question. And if there hasn't been much in the way of communication, I would think that voters, that residents of the city would want to see more communication, not less.
Exactly.
Andy Dillon, the former state treasurer, just testified in federal court today that he was skeptical about the bankruptcy process, that he was locked out of that process. So it's very interesting to see in the next couple of weeks how this unravels, whether the House was divided at the time Detroit was filing for Chapter 9.
And also, I think it's important to note that currently our current mayor is not a politician per se. And so whoever wins tonight will be one. And that person can maybe be the face of change for Detroit. While Orr deals with finances, maybe he would feel more comfortable allowing the mayor to do those type of political issues.
Man who knows a little bit about politics, Bob Berg, former press secretary for Mayor Coleman Young, joins us in this conversation. Kind of coming in the middle here, but I guess first of all, Bob, interested in your immediate impressions about the run-up to Election Day, and now that we're here, what Detroit voters are deciding on tonight, particularly in the mayor's race.
Well, that's what we're waiting to find out right now. I think the general consensus is that we're going to end up with Mike Duggan as our new mayor, and we should know in the next hour or so.
And what do you think that signals for the immediate future for the city of Detroit?
Well, I think Detroiters voted for the person that they thought was the most competent. They voted for Mike because he's got a track record, running a large organization that was near bankruptcy. He brought it out, and I think they just decided, comparing the two candidates, that they wanted to go with somebody that had the kind of experience that the city needs right now.
So it's not about certainly race in this case. It's about who's going to get the job done, who's going to get the lights on, who's going to get police response better, and who's going to handle the other things that are important to the people who live in the city.
Exactly. They voted for the candidate that they thought was the best able to achieve that.
We had an interesting conversation, 3 former mayors, Roman Gribbs, Dennis Archer, Ken Cockrell Jr. A rare opportunity to get some insights on the job and the difficult job that a mayor has.
Right.
You've been close to the power for years and years. How tough a job is it to be mayor of the city of Detroit right now?
It's tough.
In a simple answer.
In a simple answer, right? It's being mayor of a major city anywhere is one of the toughest jobs in the country, and being mayor of Detroit, whether it was when Ray Gribbs was here or Coleman Young or now, that's a tough job because you've got a lot of problems you got to deal with. You've got limited resources that you can call upon to deal with those problems, and you have to figure out a way to spread the resources to effectively deal with the problems.
Jenice, got thoughts?
One thing I would say is, as far as the two candidates who are up for election tonight, the question was posed, is this book going to be a mess or is it going to be of use? And I would say it is our playbook. Right now we have this plus the emergency manager law plus the 18 emergency manager orders. But once those things go away, this will be our playbook. And what we did here at the debate here last week, both candidates mentioned insurance. And they wanted to create an insurance agency, to help Detroiters deal with the high rate of insurance. And this playbook already includes that. At section 9801, we included city-sponsored city insurance, which said should state law change, the city will be able to create its own insurance industry or company if they do a feasibility study, which shows the city can't afford it, right? So that's how the charter will impact how the mayor can operate. Both of them want to do insurance, and the charter enables that. Should they be able to go to Lansing and lobby for the change? So that kind of goes to show you that the charter is not a mess. It's a playbook, and it's something for us to abide by.
And like a coach, you pay attention to the playbook, or you call an audible, and in some cases
sometimes we need a flag on the field
to stop it. But been a lot of talk about historic election tonight. In your view, is this a historic election?
Well, it's historic in that the city's in a critical position right now. It's in bankruptcy court. The judge is yet to make a decision. But I don't think there's some significance to the fact that you've got looks like you're going to have a white mayor. But I don't think the decision tonight or today was made based on race. And the decision 40 years ago for Coleman Young wasn't really based on race. It was based on that he represented a community that had been basically locked out of power for its entire life. And he came in offering people a chance to have access. And he had support both in the black and the white community. And at the time you had a police chief that was running a stress operation that was, that had killed 20-some young African-American males in the street, and people were ready for something new, and that's what Coleman Young represented.
When the mayors were having their conversation, Chuck asked, best mayor ever in the history of Detroit, and Coleman Young's name, came up.
That doesn't surprise me.
Not surprising to you,
no.
right?
No, and I think people. It's amazing how he's been out of office for 20 years, been gone for 16 years, and people feel very passionately either they love him or they don't.
Right.
And you go around the region. But I think as time passes, the Free Press did a story about 4 weeks ago, how we got this way, and the sub-headline was, "And don't blame Coleman Young."
That's right.
And so I think, and they said he was the most conservative fiscal manager the city had had in the last 60 years. And so I think that people now that he's been gone for a while are really starting to appreciate all that he did for the city and how he was really able to hold the city together against very, very huge odds. Very tough time in the national economy and in the auto industry, and positioned the city to come back. If you look at the Poletown plant, the Chrysler plant, the whole theater district that came from when he convinced Mike Ilitch to do the Fox Theater renovation. He expanded Cobo Hall, which made the North American International Auto Show possible, started the redevelopment of the riverfront. All those things, are still having a huge impact on the city.
Indeed. We'll hold it there for a moment. Bob Berg joining us among our guests here tonight on our webcast.